everyone, this is Nick with Twisted Wrister Hockey, and welcome to my 2018-2019 San Jose Sharks Postmortem. Now, it's been a long season of over 102 games for the San Jose Sharks. They were able to finish second in the Pacific Division, get into the playoffs. Again, I think that's 14 times in the last 15 seasons. And they went 2 rounds, just barely able to squeak by the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche before they were eliminated in 6 games to the St. Louis Blues. So, with that, we will mourn our defeat briefly. And pour some out over our fallen San Jose Sharks. I was hoping that I could actually break this out in victory, but unfortunately, it's just another postseason, isn't it? Anyway, it's been a good season. We got pretty close, we almost made it there. I know it wasn't quite exactly what we were hoping for or expecting, at least for some of us, but nonetheless, it's been a good ride, and I'm gonna get into that in this video here. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button down below, especially if you're a San Jose Sharks fan. I'm only 15 minutes away, so you know I'm gonna be covering the Sharks, putting out fan vlogs during the playoffs and maybe the regular season next year, and talking about all other NHL teams too. So hit that red subscribe button for weekly content. Well, my friends, I could have really actually dug into the statistics and the numbers behind the St. Louis series, behind the season overall, but I really wanted to actually give a more kind of from the heart outlook, having really closely followed this team yet again, and having gone to so many games, having interacted with so many of you here on this channel and my friends, many of whom I've really maintained those friendships just because of the Sharks. So yeah, I think that this is really just my chance to kind of release all of my thoughts, my emotions, moments of elation, frustration, and of course hear some of your thoughts on this season overall in the comments below. Don't just let me know about the disappointment of losing to St. Louis, but also kind of let me know what your impressions have been of this team this season, heading into next season. It's going to be a very, very busy offseason, and I'll be sure to touch on that too. So really, when I look at the Sharks this whole season, I came into this season actually with probably the highest expectations I've had of this team, I'd say in the last 5 or 6 years, for sure. You know, I thought that they would at least be a playoff team going into August, September. I said, okay, well, you know, the core is still there. They have enough guys who are still putting up points, you know, Pavelski and Couture and whatnot. And then we got Erik Karlsson, and that definitely changed expectations. That made me think that this team could win the Pacific Division convincingly. This made me think that the team could make a run for the Western Conference. And actually, if you go back to my season predictions video, I predicted the Sharks to go to the conference finals and fall to the St. Louis Blues. Now, that was a little bit of a guess, so I could actually have a different prediction than a lot of other folks out there, but nonetheless, it's come true, and the Blues got their revenge from 2016. So, you know, tip of the cap to them. They absolutely earned this series victory, and I'm very excited to see the Blues having a chance to capture their first Stanley Cup yet again, 50 years later almost. So definitely congratulations to them. If you're a Blues fan, hey, hats off to you. I'm not gonna take my hat off because my hair is really gross. When is it not? All right, so anyway, again, we're kind of rewinding though. So we get Erik Karlsson, I get really fired up. The whole community of Sharks fans gets fired up. People think, oh my God, these guys are like by default an automatic contender. So that was definitely the case and consistent heading up into the actual drop of the puck for the first game. The way I look at the Sharks season, it's kind of a 3-act play, and then there was a little bit of a encore or a overtime act that was the playoffs. The first, I would say, almost 2 months of the season was actually somewhat of a struggle for the team. I think that Erik Karlsson is kind of a microcosm of that, in that he was trying to get used to playing hockey under a new system with a new group of players that he wasn't very familiar with. I mean, this guy would only play the Western Conference, twice a year? So he wasn't very familiar with that, and it was a big adjustment. He had also had, offseason surgery, and so he wasn't entirely himself when he came here. There was a lot of early frustration from the fans, and I thought to myself, I thought, God, I mean, I know that this guy is putting forth his effort to make an impact on this team, but it's not, the results aren't coming the way that he's trying. I mean, that's not translating so much. You know, what's it going to take? And as a result, the team wasn't doing all that hot. I mean, I think they've pretty much stayed in a playoff spot the whole season. So San Jose is not looking so strong. They're on the road. It's Erik Karlsson's return to Ottawa, and the team just gets lit up. It's embarrassing. Doug Wilson has a meeting with the players, and somehow that's able to translate into success. So this is kind of the second act of the Sharks this year. During this act, the Sharks bring in Radim Simek, who had been playing with the AHL Barracuda. He hadn't had any NHL experience, at least not to my knowledge, and this Czech defenseman comes in, plays primarily with Brent Burns, of all people, and the Sharks are almost a different team. At the same time, Erik Karlsson is starting to really find his groove, and he's scoring almost every game. I think he had a 14-game point streak? Now, he's not producing goals, but he's definitely leading this beautiful transition attack. The team is much more fluid in its puck movement, I think. And Brent Burns, now that he has a more reliable stay-at-home defenseman in Simek, who can also bang bodies, by the way, Burns was actually starting to emerge into kind of that Norris caliber. I know that's kind of a liberal term for me to say, but you know, he's coming back to his self offensively as well. Amid all this, Joe Pavelski in the first half is just having a tremendous bounce-back season. The year before, he had 22 goals. He had a big wrist injury, and this year he just absolutely just shot the moon, almost getting to 40 goals. He got injured toward the end of the season, and we'll definitely touch on Pavelski's nagging injuries for sure. But yeah, he looks great. Goaltending though, goaltending's not sharp. Martin Jones and Aaron Dell are struggling. But that's more of a product, I think, or that's part of a greater issue of the team defense. A lot of you know that the Sharks, over the course of the regular season and into the first couple rounds of the playoffs, they never lost a game in which they surrendered fewer than 3 goals. And so in that second act, the Sharks are playing a little bit better in terms of overall team defense. The breakaways and the odd man rushes for the opponents, they're not coming as commonly as they were in the first act. So the Sharks are doing well. They're basically neck and neck with Calgary for first place in the division. And you're thinking, whoa, this is the team that we saw on paper, at least, going into October. I think that they maintain this. They should easily be able to win a couple rounds and hopefully make a run for the Cup Finals. Then the third act comes. Radim Simek blows out his knee. And I can't attribute that to one player, but the team just fell flat defensively after that. Erik Karlsson, he's injured as well. He misses all but, I think he missed like 27 games or something like that. Maybe that was on the season overall. Systematically, this team is kind of in a wreck. Timo Meier in a lot of the season was actually pretty cold, even though he did end up with 30 goals, so he kind of bounced back at the very end. Jonas Donskoy, he went, 3 months between late January and the playoffs without a goal, and then he scores against Colorado. So some guys, not everybody on the Sharks is able to, I guess, have a career-defining year on offense like a lot of players do in the NHL. Now, there were definitely exceptions to that. You look at Kevin Labanc, Timo Meier's point total overall, Tomas Hertl, sure. But I think that there were definitely struggles down the end to find, I guess, productivity from the depth guys, from Marcus Sorensen, from Jonas Donskoy. Melker Karlsson, yeah, he's in a fourth line role, but he's not scoring the big clutch goals that he scored 2 years ago, I would say. So it's almost like some of that depth is missing going into the playoffs. The Sharks, they end up losing a ton of games down the stretch in the last 15 contests, and they really do kind of back themselves into the playoffs. They finished with 101 points, which triple digits is, that's pretty nice. I think they have the 7th best record in the NHL at the time. But it's all about that momentum. You just don't feel good about this team necessarily, especially going up against their nemesis, which is Vegas. And you could really feel that in the first 4 games. The Sharks do come out in game 1 almost like gangbusters. They looked fantastic. Defensively, I'd say they were sound. Again, that 2 or fewer, get the win at home. But then things start to go sideways. Vegas turns the tables. They strike early in the game. That kills the Sharks. That has been a motif of their pitfalls, of their failures over the course of the season. Martin Jones looks a little bit like Swiss cheese out there. And Vegas is just hitting anything that moves out there. The Sharks look dominated in a lot of game 2, certainly in game 3, and absolutely in game 4, where the Sharks lose 5-0 in Vegas. The series comes back to San Jose for game 5. The Sharks overall, hey, they look pretty solid. They score the first goal of the game, and I start to think, hey, I think these guys, they kind of put the Vegas trip behind them. The series isn't over yet. The Sharks take game 5, but then they have to go back into their house of horrors and win game 6. Vegas puts up so many shots. Not all of them are insanely quality chances. Martin Jones nonetheless looks solid. He looks confident, and he carries the team that game. The Sharks get kind of lucky on their 2 goals. One of them comes at the very end of the first period from Logan Couture. And then in double overtime, short-handed, Tomas Hertl takes the puck up ice. Yeah, Shea Theodore is kind of marking him, not super tightly, and he tucks it home against Fleury. This is something we haven't seen the Sharks do against Vegas at all in their first 2 years against each other. Martin Jones saves 58 of 59 shots. And so with that, you're thinking, okay, is Jones back in that playoff mode that we know from seasons past? And even though he never returned exactly to that form, he got kind of close to that. Game 7 against Vegas comes. And I get to go. Because my friend says, hey, we gotta go to game 7. I said, oh God, I don't wanna be there when we lose. And he's like, oh, come on, do it. And I'm like, all right, fine, we'll do it. The Sharks, that fight isn't there. We've seen the Sharks collapse in their elimination games. And it looks like that's what's gonna happen here. And then, yes, the 5-minute major occurs. And I'm not gonna talk about that call particularly too much, but I understand why the people are upset about that. And a lot of Sharks fans, myself included, would say, yeah, I mean, that was wrong for the refs if they didn't see it to call a 5-minute major. But they are allowed to make that call if they see some sort of injury. But anyway, aside from that, the Sharks get this unprecedented opportunity. 6 seconds in, first goal. And I've seen this power play lollygag and get all cute before. They can't just go 1 pass, 2 pass, maybe a 3rd pass, shoot. They haven't been doing that this season. Somehow they had the 6th best power play in the regular season. But anyway, Logan Couture scores the first power play goal 6 seconds into a 5-minute power play. And you think, okay, well, this game isn't entirely over. Second goal comes. Erik Karlsson rockets one into traffic. Tomas Hertl tips it in. 3-2. And the Shark Tank is going pretty nuts at this time. Absolutely. And there's plenty of time left for them to score another one. And sure enough, Logan Couture delivers goal number 3 as the equalizer, and this place is erupting. But that's not it. Kevin Labanc, I was pretty much riding his ass the whole year, except for the last maybe 15 or 20 games, because I saw raw potential in this kid, but just not this assertiveness in making his decisions. Waiting too long to shoot the puck, passing the puck back behind him too much. But he took advantage of this situation in which one of the penalty killers from Vegas shifts toward the center of the ice, toward the slot, and LeBanc has some room to skate and shoot, and he fires it, scores the goal to go ahead. But I thought, no, Vegas isn't going to go away easily. And sure enough, I was right. With 47 seconds left, Jonathan Marchessault ties it up. That's a gutsy performance, especially in response to what his team experienced having to kill off 5 minutes of power play time. So I know he was very frustrated after the game, but I want to tip my cap to him because that was a career-defining moment for him. Then overtime comes around, and there's chance after chance either end, but I had the feeling the Sharks, they had probably the better chances in that period. And then sure enough, Erik Karlsson notices a mispositioning of the defense, I guess. And Barclay Goodrow, who hadn't stepped onto the ice until about 15 minutes into overtime, comes into the zone, diagonally cuts across Fleur's crease, and buries home one of the best goals in franchise history. I wouldn't say necessarily the key goal, the goal, but it's right up there. And I want to get a picture of that and maybe one day get it signed. I don't know. Hopefully Goodrow is still playing for the team. Now, I had thought that Calgary would prevail against Colorado, but I thought it was going to be a very close series. I had no idea that Colorado was going to eat their slice of humble pie after game one and then just flat out dominate for the most part, especially in that elimination game. My God, unbelievable. So the Avs and the Sharks square off. I'm not going to talk about this one as much, but it was a very competitive series, game to game. I mean, each team alternated wins. Nathan MacKinnon was outstanding. Mikko Rantanen had a very good series. The defense for Colorado, this Cale Makar guy, he's going to be the real deal, and that's not going to take very long to develop. You can see it. You can see that potential there already. So Colorado was a lot of fun to watch. I think that Brent Burns had his best series of the playoffs against Colorado. I think that Martin Jones, while he didn't have to necessarily be spectacular every game, he made the key saves that you need your goaltender to make in the playoffs. So he was locked in, and you got to tip the cap to Colorado for forcing it to 7 games, first of all. But they showed that they're going to be a team to reckon with for years to come. Absolutely. Nonetheless, San Jose pulls through, and we're back in the conference finals for the first time since 2016. And then it kind of unraveled a little bit from there. Game 1, the Sharks definitely set the pace, set the tone in front of their home crowd. And I thought to myself, holy crap. We're going to get back there, aren't we? We're going to get back to the finals. St. Louis impressed me in ways that I didn't necessarily expect. I thought we had the depth. I thought we had the ability to dig pucks out of the corners and play along the boards. I thought we'd have the edge in special teams. All that meant nothing because St. Louis beat us at that game. They were insanely physical too. They just punished us from the moment the series began. Erik Karlsson took a ton of hits. Absolutely. And over the course of the series, other players for the Sharks would get beat up too. Again, I could go into this more. I won't so much, but I will acknowledge that there were absolute direct hits to players' heads that were not even considered penalties in this series. And I thought that was pretty ridiculous. Now, that's not to say that a Shark didn't initiate head contact with a Blue. I'm not saying that that didn't happen. But I am watching with my bias, so I noticed things that were not called. That didn't cost us the series. I'm not going to use that as an excuse. The Blues beat us fair and square, and they dominated for a lot of the series, so they earned it. Nonetheless, the Sharks, as a product of the Blues' physicality, were banged up. And I haven't seen a team this depleted in a long time. Not in the playoffs. Did that have an impact on the team's morale? I think so. Does that impact their product on the ice? I think so. But that doesn't necessarily excuse them from finding some sort of way to win. Over the course of this season, the Sharks found ways to win. Erik Karlsson injured? Doesn't matter. Brent Burns is going to kick ass out there. Joe Pavelski injured? Tomas Hertl is going to save the day and emerge as the team's best player, which, between him and Couture, you can kind of debate that. But anyway. But yeah, you looked at it, and, Jonas Donskoi had that one beautiful goal against Colorado. That was it. Evander Kane, no goals in the last 10 plus games. Although I will say, and we're going to find out, I'm pretty sure, Evander Kane was playing injured. That might have come against Vegas, against Ryan Reeves or some other play there. Yeah, that wasn't 100% Evander Kane. So I'm not going to criticize him too much. I know he's a very hot and cold player, but nah, I think he was dealing with something. And I think he was, actually pretty active out there in the last few games. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, the Sharks couldn't get the depth scoring that they needed. When you looked at how deep this team was in the regular season, you look at Kevin LeBanc, 50 plus points, Joe Thornton, 50 plus points. You look at, Timo Meier, third year in the NHL, 30 goals, 60 something points. Tomas Hertl, the Sharks had those players available. Those players had big moments in the regular season, but they didn't in this series. I think the Sharks also were struggling again in terms of team defense. Is goaltending part of that? Yeah. But Jones didn't look like he did against Vegas in the first couple of games. He looked much better than that, I think. I think that he struggled to make saves that, again, you count on, or you say, hey goalie, it's the playoffs. We're going to have a lapse here and there. A team is going to put up a really good shot. Like this is the time where you actually have to kind of pull something out of your butt and make the save. And Jones didn't always do that against St. Louis. He did a few times, but nonetheless, it wasn't enough. It wasn't what Tuukka Rask has done. It wasn't what Jordan Binnington has done. So I think that that's where you can kind of draw the comparison. Nonetheless, I'm not as concerned about Jones as some other fans that are out there. But somehow we need to get some sort of consistency from him, similar to what we saw for about 12 games in the playoffs consecutively, and to get that over the course of the regular season and take it from there. So anyway, here we are. We've got one hell of an offseason ahead of us. I want to make a separate video about this too, because really there's a lot to dive in, there's a lot to speculate. But with the Sharks, aging veteran team, absolutely. Look at the guys who are going to be under contract for the next 6+ years and how old they will be once they run out. Brent Burns is going to be 40, 6 years down the road. Marc-Edouard Vlasic, he'll be in his late 30s. Logan Couture, he's 30 years old right now. He's with the team for 7 more years. Evander Kane, he's got 6 more years with the team until he's 34. Martin Jones has got, I think, another 5 more years with the team until he's 34 as well. So yeah, the Sharks have a lot of money tied up in the long term for players who are going to be a little long in the tooth later on. So with that said, there are a couple of directions you could go in as a general manager and as a franchise as a whole. I'm going to start with Joe Pavelski here, actually. Joe Pavelski, I didn't even talk about his injuries. He suffered some gruesome injuries. The first goal of the playoffs, he gets knocked in the jaw and loses teeth. Then he gets concussed, and you saw, his head, blood coming out. God, I hope he's okay. Because after that, he only played a few more games, and then he got kind of knocked out of Game 5, so. But he and Couture and other players on the Sharks, they're Iron Men. You can say that they're hockey players, of course. There are a lot of tough hockey players out there, but these guys, you need that money just to cover some of those medical expenses, I imagine. But anyway, Pavelski, 12 plus years with the Sharks. I want to say all-time goal scorer among guys shooting right-handed. 7th round pick in 2003. Captain of the Sharks during the Peter DeBoer regime of 4 years. This guy's a free agent. And I can't see the Sharks not wanting to find a way to keep him around. But then you consider his injuries, his age, 34 years old. You know, that guy's played a lot of hockey. He's taken a lot of physical damage this year and years before. It's not a slam dunk of an offseason for signing him, I don't think. You know, I love the guy. He's fantastic. He's been a great leader for this team. The Sharks have other leaders, though, so that's an alternative. Joe Thornton. I don't think money is going to be the issue for Thornton. It's just about, Joe, do you trust your knees? Do you trust your body? Do you trust your biological clock or whatever to be able to play 82, 100 games next season? Joe had his best season since 15-16 with the Sharks. He was a lot healthier this year. He looked great. And because of him, Kevin Labanc flourished. So, kudos to Joe. You saw him in the locker room after this defeat to the Blues. He was kind of broken down from that. It's hard as a fan because we love Joe Thornton. There is nothing more that we want to see than Joe Thornton raising a Stanley Cup with the Sharks. And I think he can maybe last one more year. And at a franchise-friendly price point, I must say. But if the Sharks move on from Thornton, could that open the door for them to kind of start to reform their identity? I don't know, that might be a help. That might be an advantage for other players in that locker room. Again, I want to talk about this weeks later in a separate video. Just wanted to float that out there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Alright, now we'll talk about Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson, difficult year for him. Gets traded, has to move all the way across the continent, play with a new team for the first time in 9 years, struggles out the gate, and I'm sure that frustration was there. I know he was like, okay, well, I know that they don't expect me to be a Norris Trophy caliber player in my first 10 games or whatever, but as the season goes on, it's like, God, what's it gonna take for me to score goals? What's it gonna take for me to, be credited with my defensive plays? And then he gets injured again, and the playoffs come around and he's starting to contribute. He's on the ice for a lot of goals. Yeah, he did a lot of things out there that I just thought, what the hell are you thinking out there? It's a little unfair for me to judge Karlsson based off of playing at 70%. I'll just throw that out there. Because he was not 100% at all. It sucks to see that. But, I'm sure that he wants to have a fresh start. And that fresh start could be with San Jose. Or it could be somewhere else. It could be back in the Eastern time zone for all we know. Not to mention, he's going to command a salary that I honestly don't know the Sharks can afford him. Certainly, they won't be able to get Pavelski back, sign Meyer to a decent deal, sign Kevin Labanc, maybe sign another winger, because the Sharks need wingers. Hey guys, I'm sorry about that, my light went out. But anyway, with Erik Karlsson, it's a very difficult decision, and the thing is that if the Sharks want to be able to keep other players, they might not be able to, give Karlsson the contract that he wants. So, huge factor there. They've got a couple of restricted free agents, key personnel, Timo Meyer, Kevin Labanc. Guys who had very nice third seasons. Timo Meyer, 30 goals. A lot of that coming at the beginning of the season, but overall, a fairly good playoffs too. I think he had 15 points, so not bad Timo. 22 years old. And then 23-year-old Kevin Labanc, who put up over 50 points and who really came on strong toward the end of the season, especially on the power play. So I don't see why the Sharks wouldn't want to keep these guys. It's just, what will the market command? What will they think they deserve? Do the Sharks want to go long-term with them? Do they want to do bridge deals? I think personally, this could definitely be more of a bridge deal situation. 2 years, 3 years. Kevin Labanc, he's a third liner. He can move into the top six eventually. especially if the Sharks don't sign Pavelski, because then they'll need someone who's right-handed. So anyway, then you've got Gustav Nyquist, who came to the Sharks at the trade deadline. Took him a little while to feel things out, but I think that he actually played pretty well for the regular season. A little hit and miss in the postseason. Wasn't really much anywhere to be found against the Blues, though. I think that Nyquist is somebody who has fit into the top 6 before. He's kind of a luxury for the Sharks as a left-handed shot. The Sharks have enough left-handed shots out there, Couture, Meyer, Hurdle. So I don't think that Nyquist is going to be a target for the Sharks in the offseason, but hey, I could be wrong. Anyway, I liked what he brought to the Sharks overall, but I'm thinking that that's probably a spot for them to free up. So anyway, there could be a way for the Sharks to free up a lot of cap space, and there's a way to make a lot of that disappear by signing Erik Karlsson or signing, our restricted free agents and Joe Pavelski to big deals. Personally, I'm just going to float this out there. I would love nothing more than the Sharks to move on from Erik Karlsson and focus on something they need more, because they already have their offensive defenseman, Brent Burns. They've got that. They've got Ryan Merkley waiting in the wings for a couple of years from now. If I were the Sharks, I would make an aggressive push to, first of all, get some sort of Russian-speaking player in the lineup, and then go after Artemi Panarin. However, I think that there would be like a 2% chance Panarin would even consider the Sharks, because he wants to be where the bright lights are. He wants to maybe play for Joel Quenneville again. But I think Panarin would be the perfect fit for this team, because he can make plays, he's quick, he's still, 27 years old, so he's got lots of good hockey left. He's a right-handed shot. He's got a good shot. So I would like to see him in the top 6 for San Jose, and I would definitely pay some big money for him. But anyway, my thoughts. Okay, so that was a look at the offseason there. One thing that I also want to talk about is just my overall experience as a fan this year. This is the first time that I've been putting up YouTube videos as a fan of the Sharks, for a full season, I should say. And that's definitely been fun, and it's been enhanced a lot by my interactions with people here on YouTube, with people on Twitter. By the way, check the description below for my Twitter handle and my Instagram. I'm on Instagram now, Twistagram as I like to call it. And additionally, this has all been kind of anchored by my first year as a half-season ticket holder. So it was my goal since I was in college to be a season ticket holder for the Sharks. Yeah, I'm not going to 40 games a year. I'm a half-season holder, so I get to go to 20. I saw a lot of NHL hockey this year. A couple times I thought to myself, God, I got another game to go to? Oh man, so much hockey. But nonetheless, this has been so much fun. I've felt even more connected to this franchise. The more games I go to, the more friends I make along the way who are fans of this team, whether that's in person or online. Here I am at the end of a postseason for us. Again, I'm a lot more optimistic. I'm a lot more good times, good vibes about the Sharks than I have been in the past. I think part of it's because I've already had my expectations just destroyed. I've gotten my hopes up. I've experienced that part of being a fan enough to where it's like, okay, I just don't expect this team to win the cup. It's kind of depressing to think that, but it actually helps me out, because here I am and I get to learn what to appreciate about this team. Appreciate the development of Kevin Labanc and Timo Meier. Appreciate some of the wild wins this team had this year when they went on the road against Washington and won 7-6 in overtime after tying the game with 2 seconds left, basically. It was unbelievable. And then the 2 games in Winnipeg, the overtime one and the one that ended with 3 seconds left from Joe Pavelski. Just watching those games again this year, that right there would bring me so much satisfaction. Yeah, getting revenge. I don't care how it came, but getting revenge against Vegas after last year. Damn, that felt so good. And I said in that Game 7 vlog that it felt like that was kind of like our Stanley Cup, and that the rest of this is bonus hockey. So I've really appreciated these moments along the way, more so than I ever have. And that really helps me, because I know that there will be moments like that, not equivalent, but moments like that next season to look forward to. So I don't see why I wouldn't renew being a half-season ticket holder. Next year, are the Sharks going to make the Cup? I don't know. They have a hell of an offseason ahead of them. You know, they can take this franchise in a couple different directions. But I will say this. Now, hear me out. In the Peter DeBoer era, 2016, year 1, they make the Stanley Cup Finals. Year 2, they lose in the first round. Year 3, 2018, they lose in the second round. Year 4, this year, they lose in the third round. So logically, this is leading me to believe that the Sharks could actually get back to the finals next year. Now, who's going to be on the team to make that happen? You tell me. Because your guess is as good as mine at this point. All I know is that I'm going to be there to support the team. I'm hopefully going to be on here to continue talking hockey with you guys. And one of these days, whether it's next year or years down the road, hopefully before I'm rolling over my grave, this team is going to win a Stanley Cup. One of these years. And it'll be worth the videos, it'll be worth all the money I've spent on tickets and jerseys, lots of jerseys here. It'll definitely be worth all my conversations with you. And it'll be worth these emotional roller coasters I've experienced throughout the years. Absolutely. Even if Jumbo's not the one hoisting the cup, even if it's somebody who comes out of nowhere and is the hero in Game 7 of the cup winning game. You know, no matter what, as long as somebody in teal is raising that cup. As long as that somebody doesn't play like Rafi Torres. But that's another topic. So anyway, I'm not going to blabber anymore. It's been a good season. Yeah, am I disappointed? I am. But, you know, again, appreciate those moments along the way. Enjoy beating Vegas. Enjoy getting to the conference finals. And hopefully cheer the Blues on. Actually, with that said, there we go. Let's go ahead and give it up to these guys. Hey, they beat us fair and square. So pay my respects to the Blues. It's going to be a hell of a match against the Bruins. It's not going to be easy, and I don't think it's going to be a sweep for either team. But yeah, this is it. This is my postmortem. And with that, anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Again, let me know your impressions of the Sharks, not just from this season, but kind of going forward. Guess Cortana's not very impressed with how they played in the conference finals. Anyway, guys, it's been awesome talking to you on here. Be sure to stick around for more Twisted Wrister content. I'll be covering the offseason a little bit there, and I'll also be making more videos about oddball topics, homebred stats, jersey unboxings, and more. I've got more jerseys coming in the mail right now as we speak. I've got a couple of arena history videos to make, and I've got some other ideas planned as well, especially now that we've eclipsed 250 subscribers. Maybe a little giveaway there. So anyway, stick around for more Twisted Wrister content. Hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hopefully not the thumbs down. And get ready for more San Jose Sharks coverage in the near future. This has been Nick with Twisted Wrister Hockey. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you again soon. And let's go Sharks.